at the end of this meeting, it does feel like we are at a moment where we can, across the G20 nations and beyond, we can scout startups globally, we can fund them collaboratively, we can mentor them contextually, and we can scale them internationally. I think this target seemed to have emerged. It feels doable. Yesterday I shared with you that we led an intensely participatory and consultative process. You already know that the theme of our presidency is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. There were other phrases such as Jan Bhagidari or public participation. We have lived these phrases. In our meetings so far, inception meeting in Hyderabad, and where 24 nations participated. The Sikkim meeting, where 16 nations participated. The Goa meeting, where was it the number of 15 nations participated. So we had immense participation. We also put out the policy communique for people to react to. Some of you know that since we put out the policy communique, there have been more than 30 startup sabhas or town halls of startups to discuss this document. So we have, this is really a sort of a real example of Jan Bhagidari. We took the inputs of people, gave them to the international delegates in Goa, and so that they can further refine, alter as needed their own inputs based on what people are saying. So we have arrived here through considerable consultation, and I'm happy that with most of the directives that we have put out, there is a broad consensus. So let me pause there.
Thank you, sir. Would anybody else like to add on to what sir has already mentioned?
Like Dr. Chintan mentioned, it has been a very, very immersive exercise, and I think the communique that has been worked upon has been done so with complete sincerity, and that was the beauty of the entire exercise. It was so cohesive, and there was so much of stakeholder and Jan Bhagidari comments that were taken into, I believe, Dr. Chintan, that about 800 plus public comments were also received, and they were all looked into and given a lot of attention to while formulating the communique, and I think that's the true success that the chair and this entire group today has managed to achieve. And the consensus is primarily, this broad consensus is primarily a way to show that the final product will be completely in sync with all the nations that we have in the room today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I think we move on to a round of question and answers.
Sir, I'm Rupesh from PT Addresses of India. Sir, I just want to know what are the broad consensus that were arrived at during the meeting.
So, if you look at the policy communique, the draft policy communique that is online on the Startup 20 web page, it has recommendations for 5 task forces: finance, alliances, foundations, alliances, finance, inclusion and sustainability. Foundations, there's 2 areas of recommendation. Alliances has 4 different areas of recommendations. Finance also has 4 different areas of recommendations. Inclusion has 2 and sustainability has 2 more. These were the, and then under each recommendation there are multiple policy directives. These were the items discussed. I'm pointing to this document because it's out there and will give you language. Just one thing that I should mention is that if you use the policy document, it would be better to use it after 2 p.m. We will alter it minorly with the concurrence so that you have the right version. It's more or less 98% there, but just so that there's accuracy there. Let me say some things that are not in that document but that have emerged that we have agreed to. There were 5 actions that we agreed to. First was to create and adopt a definition framework for startups. Second was to create a networked institution to support startups and startup ecosystems across the G20 nations. Third was to increase and diversify access to capital for startups. Fourth is to ease market access for startups. And fifth, which has 2 parts, is to emphasize the inclusion of underrepresented communities in the startup ecosystem and to create the ability to scale startups of global interest. These were actions we agreed to. There was a lot of discussion about how such actions can be taken in our context here in India as well as across the G20 nations.
Hello. Please introduce yourself and the organization that you represent.
Hi sir, my name is Pandran. I am from Roman Bhumi local media.
सर 2 दिन के स्टार्टअप में आपने जो भी पॉजिटिव डिस्कशन किया, 2 दिन के स्टार्टअप में जो भी आपने पॉजिटिव डिस्कशन किया, उसके लिए एक डेफिनेट फ्रेमवर्क ऐसा कुछ तैयार किया है जो G20 नेशन को कुछ फायदेमंद हो सके।
हाँ, वही फ्रेमवर्क, ये जो कम्युनिके जो है वो यही फ्रेमवर्क है कि G20 नेशंस को क्या फ्रेमवर्क इम्प्लीमेंट करना है। ये फ्रेमवर्क के ऊपर पब्लिक कंसल्टेशन हो रहा है।
तो और मेजर कौन सा इश्यू जो भी जैसे एक फाइनेंशियल स्टार्टअप के लिए तो फाइनेंशियल आर्किटेक्चर वो भी रहता है, तो उस तरह का कौन सा ऐसा मेजर इश्यू आपने डिस्कस किया जो अपकमिंग में आने?
हाँ, तो अगर आपको एक लाइन का समरी देना है, जो 5 लाइन समरी आपको चाहिए, ये हेडलाइन भी हो सकता है, तो वो ये होगा कि we have put out a call for action for the G20 countries to allocate $1 trillion to startup ecosystems by 2030. Okay? कि 2030 तक क्या G20 देश मिलकर $1 ट्रिलियन स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम्स में डाल सकते हैं, तभी ये जाके मेन स्ट्रीम बन जाएगा।
और इंडियन जो यूथ है सर उनको भी ये प्रोत्साहित करेगा ऐसा लगता है?
बिल्कुल, इंडिया के लिए तो ये बिल्कुल एक, मैं कई बार ये कह चुका हूं, तो इट इज रिपीटेशन, प्लीज पार्डन मी, लेकिन अगर आप कहीं कॉकटेल पार्टी में जाएं, मैं नहीं जाता अगर आप तो ये आप क्वेश्चन पूछिए किसी को कि स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम क्यों बना है, इसके ये हमारे एफर्ट के बिना नहीं हो पाता है। तो लोग अलग अलग आपको आंसर्स देंगे कि जॉब्स क्रिएट हो, जॉब क्रिएटर्स हो जाएं, व्हाटएवर। पर्सनली मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अल्टीमेटली ये इकोसिस्टम ने क्या किया, जैसे हमारे कंट्री में कोई भी इंस्टीट्यूशन आप ले लीजिए, सारे रिस्क एवर्स हैं इंस्टीट्यूशन, एकेडेमिया रिस्क एवर्स, फैमिलीज रिस्क एवर्स, सब इंस्टीट्यूशन रिस्क है। स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम एक ही ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूशन है विच बाय डिजाइन जवान लोगों को रिस्क लेने के लिए प्रोत्साहित करता
है। Although Mr. Dr. Simple has already delivered a punchline, before we move on to further questions, I would like to also invite Joint Secretary MEA, Ashish Sinha sir, to share his thoughts.
Thank you. Dhanyawad. Hindi, English? Huh? Sorry. English. Okay. So you've heard the achievements of last 2 days and how important it is the recommendations that this group is making to their respective leaders, and it will converge into the leaders' summary as recommendation for policy action. And there are various components to it. The highlight, of course, is financial commitment by countries to the entire startup ecosystem in their respective countries. So this is all the countries taken together, and money is not going to anyone's pocket. So please do not plan that. That is one. But I wanted to tell you something different from what was discussed on the substance. You're aware that this meeting took place in a very somber environment because of the train accident on Friday. So just to let you know that all the delegations expressed their condolences to the tragic accident and have expressed their condolences to the families of victims and wished speedy recovery for the injured. So, expressing the G20 solidarity on this tragic incident, that's one. We were generally discussing as to how to make sure that discussion that took place is converted into action. That's where there have been, generally there are some slips and and please, you must be aware that in all the G20 meetings, the norm is to showcase local culture to the foreign delegates, and that was planned here as well last evening, but that was cancelled because of this event, and the cancellation part was again in G20 everything happens by consensus. So this too was a consensus decision. Everyone was on board that we should be in our thoughts, in our prayers, be with the victims and those who are still struggling. So that's why the cultural event was cancelled. However, this did not eclipse our substantive part of the discussion both yesterday and today. And so coming back to the action part, this will go into the recommendation and to tell you, give you some hope as to these discussions are not just empty discussions. Over 70% of G20 decisions so far as an empirical exercise have been implemented. So very high rate of implementation of the decisions taken and of the recommendations made. So thank you.
I would also like to invite Director DPIIT Sumit Kumar to share your thoughts on the meeting.
So for me, to just give you a background, I have joined startup as director 7 days back, and it has been learning for me. And I think it is a privilege for me that I have been able to, gather whatever has been discussed over a period of last 1 year. And the 5 issues which have been delineated after such rigorous discussion, and the very fact that these 20 countries which contribute to 85% of the world economy, if these countries decide, and as Chintan sir mentioned, that if there is a consensus that 1 trillion has to be given to this ecosystem, I think that is a big success. And I congratulate everyone over here and all the members who contributed so positively. And I think that this is only a beginning, and as time will flow, more mainstreaming of this ecosystem will happen, and it will be integrated into the international economy. Thank you.
Okay, now we can move back to the Q&A round. Shan.
So, hi, Shama from Prudent. So, one important point over here is we are trying to achieve the global definition of startups. What's the kind of discussions you're getting from other countries? What are they trying to suggest we implement as the definition?
So, as a part of this meeting, we also presented a draft framework for definition itself, which had 5 elements. Age of the organization, the size of the organization, I have to now remember, scalability of the organization, innovation, and legal entity. What type of entity it is? So actually, in the following order, what type of entity it is, what is its age, what is its size in terms of sort of revenue, etc. How scalable is this entity, and what is the innovation component of such an entity? And it's fascinating that while there are differences in how startups are defined across G20 nations, and these differences, of course, reflect the regulatory history of and the market evolution of each of these nations. Once you move to the idea of a framework as opposed to a single definition that everybody must agree to, then we are able to represent all of the G20 nations in a framework like this.
Any further questions? Before
मैं सभी पूछा सर ने बोलिया वो मेरा क्वेश्चन था तो सर ने आशीष सर ने उत्तर उसका दे दिया इम्प्लीमेंटेशन जो है 70% से ऊपर है बोल दिया उन्होंने.
इस केस में एवरेज और ऊपर जाएगा. Startup will take the average of 70% further high. That's what we are expecting. It will pull up the overall average.
आपने उनको मुझ पे प्रेशर डालने का मौका दे दिया.
Any follow-ups? Okay, so before we close, I would like to once again check with our dignitaries if they would like to have any closing remarks.
I'll just say that once again, something that I said yesterday, when we decided to come to Goa, we knew that this would be a place of great hospitality and support, and we were right. This has been wonderful. We thank the leadership, the Goa leadership, and the entire ecosystem, including all of you, for your immense support in making this event a success. Thank you very much.
Just post conclusion remarks. Would like to, on behalf of Chair, would like to invite all of you to Gurugram next month around the same time, 3rd, 4th. 3rd, 4th of July is the summit, and your role is very important, not just during the summit, but between now and the summit. We've done our work. Startup ecosystem, the stakeholders have really put together their brains. They've traveled to India, we've had 3 meetings, we've had fantastic discussion, something which was nothing, which was just, on a blank slate. It was started from definition to alliances to sustainability to finance. So every damn thing is discussed. But now it's for media to really do a bit of its share to highlight all these, and that a broader buy-in of the society is important, because you see almost all sections of society will be eventually involved. The youth, the academia, the government, the bank, market, they'll all be involved. So you have a role. There will be a gap left if in case media doesn't fill that. So please be innovative, reach out to us for more substance, for sounding out and correcting your understanding if the need be, and we'll all be available. Chintan is absolutely available and very affable person. So please do write more about it, not just in form of bites, but also shape the narrative, and the one success, and that remains a challenge also, that the good work done during Indian presidency is carried forward to the subsequent presidencies. So they are also, creating an international buzz through mainstream and social media is equally important as much as doing the substantive work. So thank you. Please welcome. I would like to welcome all of you to the program.
And I'd like to second that.
Thank you, sir. So we've had a closing remark. We had a post-closing remark comment as well. I think we can bring this press conference to a close. I thank all of the dignitaries on the dais for finding time to address the media. I also thank